to Athletics LLC with Lamar, Lucius, Big League Chew, and my man Clyde. You're about to be schooled in all things track and field. This is experience. Yes, sir. We are talking past, present, future. Y'all listen up. Let's go.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for another fun, enticing, chaotic week of questions, answers, and a little bit of everything in between and all of that. So let's get started this evening. Looks like we are going to be super plain Jane today, and we'll start with Christopher Huffins.
Hello, everyone. I'm making a very rare incognito appearance. Don't tell Lamar.
We've got Clyde.
What's going on?
And then Lucius.
What's up, everybody?
Thank you, one. Thank you all for joining us, as always. So we're going to get busy, and we're going to be busy because there are a lot of things that are happening coming up that don't make sense anymore. How can Minnesota justify the dismantling of their men's track and field team now that Big Ten football has reinstated starting on the 24th of this month?
Birdman, you want this one first?
Yeah, but that's a Birdman special right there.
I guess I'll just jump right in with both feet because y'all know that's what I want to do. I think this speaks to a conspiracy that I have well known was afoot for quite some time. They just wanted to get rid of men's track because there was never a justification for it. And if you look at the amount of money that they saved, there was never a justification for it. This just puts permanent egg on their faces, and somebody's going to have to answer to this, because at the end of the day, there is literally no justification for dropping any of their programs, certainly not their men's track and field program, affecting the second largest minority athletics team on campus. I think this is going to be a growing trend, unfortunately. I think there's going to be a great number of athletic departments that are going to use the cover of COVID to rearrange things the way they would like for them to be. I think there's a lot of schools that realize that life financially is better with 16 sports than 21. And I think they're going to use the COVID excuse to get there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you may be right. And like for me, I don't think that like justification, I don't think they feel like they need one. I do think that, so I think Clyde mentioned this a while back that, a lot of the athletics associations are going to figure out, and universities are going to figure out how wasteful they've been. And so in an attempt to not be wasteful, they're going to say, okay, we're going to use this as an excuse now because we don't have the normal funds coming in to start cutting back these programs. But, like we talked about before, cutting a men's track and field program is minute in the big scheme of things. And by what small amount of dollars you save versus the amount of lives you affect, the amount of opportunities you give. And I'm not talking about just opportunities as far as athletics. The athletic side is a small part of it. Let's talk about the opportunities from the academic side. And, obviously, so we're talking about education. And so with education, therefore, becomes opportunities to, take care of yourself, and that kind of thing. So for me, there's never been a justification for me. I've never bought into the fact that we can't play football, so we got to cut sports. I do think that, what the pandemic has done, not just in the world of athletics, but in the world as a whole, has shown people how wasteful we can be. But I think we're using this as an excuse to do things that wanted to be done. I'm going to call it pandemic courage is what I'm going to call it.
Ooh, I like that. Make that a shirt.
Yeah, a hashtag for that. I like that. Pandemic courage. Well done, sir. I would agree. I think that's ultimately what it is. And, in a situation like that, it's not that they need an excuse or that they need a justification, because who's going to force them to have one? Like, let's be real about it. Like,
Yeah.
who's gonna hold the administrators that made that decision's feet to the fire and force them to reverse it?
I have an answer to that.
Okay. All right.
How about the
All of
rest
my
of the
rant
Big
over?
Ten institutions?
Why?
Because at some point in time, somebody's got to do the right thing. Am I wrong? Maybe maybe I'm crazy. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue, Clyde.
No. I'm totally into that. Why would the other institutions in the league be like, hey guys, probably not the best idea. You should not do that. Why would they care?
Because at some point in time, there's going to be a public reckoning for all of these things. Look, I'm not necessarily one of those people that thinks that litigation is the answer to everything. But here's what I do know: the average track team in this country on the men's side has 50 guys. And there's 12.6 scholarships, so there's 37.4 scholarships being spent in order for the right to do track and field. Right. So let's stop with all this narrative about how much money the track and field program is blowing through, and which we've already talked about, how little money they're saving. Right. But at some point in time, one of these student athletes, one group of these student athletes is going to say, you know what, this is some unmitigated bullshit.
Sure. And my fear I agree with the point. My fear in all of this, it's kind of like how the world of athletics currently plays out, right? Like, will enough of the student athletes who quote unquote matter stand up for this? If it's just track and field athletes pissed off about this particular school cutting this particular sport, that's not important enough. No one's gonna care. They don't carry enough weight. It has to be the athletes on the football side. It has to be the athletes on the basketball courts to say, you know what, we as a coalition of athletes, we're going to stand up for our own. It's, ironically, it's just like what Christian Taylor and the crew are trying to do with World Athletics right now. If that union that is trying to move forward doesn't stand up for the race walk being canceled, they're not going to have enough cachet or enough backbone, or no one's going to take them seriously enough to stand up when they want to do something about the triple jump. You have to be all in or not in. So the track and field athletes don't carry enough weight to really do anything. I don't think that the people that make decisions and the people cutting the checks are scared of those people. They're only scared of the football players and the basketball players. And that's why student athletes as a whole mobilizing together, strength in numbers, that works. Individual sports standing up and voicing their gripes about what's happening to them, it's not going to carry enough weight. So, for me, I don't think that, or aren't they ultimately have to do the right thing? No, because who's holding them accountable for doing the right thing? Like, not enough people that matter. And that's a very pessimistic view of the situation. But on these particular issues, I am not the one to be confused with the optimist. That is not me.
I think that the big issue we have here is, and you're absolutely right. Like, the track team can stand up and yell and scream and holler, and we want to raise funds and all that stuff. And that they're not going to listen if they don't want the track and field program to exist. Now, if the football team as a whole walks up to the athletic department or the athletic director's office and says, we don't play unless we have a men's track and field program, they'll be reinstated then. There's no doubt about that. And as far as the rest of the league goes, I don't know, what would they say? We're not going to run if you guys don't let Minnesota run. They're not going to put their lives in jeopardy. They're not going to put their livelihood in jeopardy. Now, do I think that every school in the league is going to make a statement, and maybe already has, that they support, the program being reinstated? They want them to be a part of the league. There's no doubt about that. But what action if you're at one of the other schools in the league, what really can you do to force Minnesota's hands to put them back in action? Would be my question.
And just like any other issue, right? Like, you can step out, and I'll take it away from Minnesota so it's not so personal for certain people. Like, if a program in League X gets canceled and the rest of the league and the coaches in it stand up and make their public statements, that's dope. Like, cool, you made a statement. Kind of like, you know, putting out a tweet for Black Lives Matter. What are you actually prepared to do about it is a different issue. And so putting out the statement is cool. But at the end of the day, I think the majority of people are content to go on with their lives and be thankful that they didn't lose their jobs. And that sucks. But that's typically how people are.
Yeah, I think one of the things I find very interesting, and I'm not calling them out for this, but so Minnesota combined their programs 2 years ago, a year ago, something of that nature.
Recently.
Right? And then now they're going to cut the men's portion of the program. Does anybody else find that weird?
Oh,
because they're not actually cutting a men's program now. It's a combined program. They've just basically said, hey, all of you women, you matter, but you men don't. And it is interesting to me that at some point in time in one of these schools that the female track and field athletes haven't said, don't blame us, because that's what's happening. They're making female track and field athletes and coaches out to be the scapegoat via the Title IX reason, right? Because that's where most men's track programs have been cut, is because, when you have to make budget cuts, they always use Title IX as the crutch as to why it's a men's track program and not a women's track program that gets cut. That's why there are now 5 men's track programs in a 14-person MAC league. There's 14 women's teams and 5 men's teams now.
Yeah, when I was at Louisiana Tech, that was the reality. I think there was 4 men's programs in the WAC at the time, which again, Louisiana Tech and the WAC made no sense. And and everybody had a women's program. But pretty sure it was 4. It was 4 programs.
It was because there were a couple that didn't do indoor.
Yes, that's right. 4 indoor, 5 outdoor, something like that. It was weird.
Yeah,
It
was weird.
Well, don't forget too, Minnesota has since then cut spots from the women's side. So they didn't go unscathed. They just didn't go completely away.
Now, have they cut them, or are they planning to cut them?
If I remember the verbiage correctly, they cut them. But you're right. It could be a plan too. I mean, that's a pretty deep cut if they're cutting them in the same year as cutting them.
I just remember they were planning to cut some scholarships from women's cross country, which doesn't have which doesn't have scholarships.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, it's at 41 positions.
Yeah,
They're
crazy.
They're cutting imaginary spots because there's no roster limits or roster caps in track and field or cross country. Anyway, let's move on before I move to Minnesota and start shooting people. I'm sorry, let me take that back.
That was bad.
That was what's the word? That was reactionary. I just mean, if we don't get off this topic,
reactionary,
it's gonna get
called for, belligerent. Yeah,
I said that. I agree with all of those things.
Yes, it was.
Just don't tell Lamar.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
He's
got the wrong hat.
Lamar is usually in this chair.
Right. See.
Right.
There you go. So let's
maybe he's wearing off on me
because he don't got that cup. But let's put some more fuel on this fire. What role do coaches play in the demise of our track and field programs?
Oh, wow.
You know what? I'm gonna jump in here and go first again. Silence is compliance.
Okay, elaborate, please.
I think a great number. I mean, Clyde actually just spoke to it, right? There are a great number of people who see things being done wrong and refuse or are afraid, in most cases, I think, to speak up and speak out about the wrongness of some of these things because they don't want to lose their jobs. There is a self-imposed fear that that's a thing.
Okay. Well, I'm not really sure where you were going with that one, but
I wasn't going anywhere. I went right where I wanted to go, which is by not saying anything.
Which I'm not going anywhere, but I was going where I wanted to go, which has to be somewhere. So you don't want to go anywhere, which is somewhere.
I don't want you to be confused. So I'm gonna
there's
put a point to it for you.
There's a cup around there somewhere, but
No, there's no cup.
So all I'm gonna tell you is this, and I think what the question speaks to is the role the coaches play in the development, the success of said programs, and that if maybe the programs were more successful, that maybe they wouldn't be the first ones on the chopping block. And I think that I mean, there's two sides of that coin. I think that clearly there's some people out there that could do better. That's in track and field. That's in a whole lot of other sports, and it's just because track seems to be the easy target right now. But I definitely think that there's got to be a better way to have a little more pride in what you're doing. Have put a better product out there. Like anything else in this world, if you don't want to get fired, you do a great job. It's hard for them to get rid of it. So I just got to believe that. You're not saying that that's what happened in Minnesota, because they have had some success over years. But I do think that the better product you can put out there, the least likely you are to get to have these kind of problems.
I would agree. Throughout my, and I've had four NCAA jobs in my career. And no matter where I've been and whatever levels I've been working at, I've encountered coaches who take their jobs very serious and care about what they do for a living. And I've encountered people who were just collecting the check for as long as they can collect the check for. And unfortunately, I think the majority of people in our profession are the latter. And when they are, that makes it very, very easy and very, very convenient to take a hatchet to what often is the second largest team on the campus. But you know what I mean? Like, football is obviously if a school has football, they're going to run huge numbers. You take that away, or a school that doesn't have football, track does a huge amount of numbers. And even though we don't necessarily spend more than other sports, because our sport isn't really that expensive to run, other with the exception of indoor, depending on where you're located, it's an easy PR thing to be like, oh, we have this huge team out here and we're going to get rid of a portion of it. See, we're being frugal. See, we're trying to take economic responsibility for our situation. Well, to the point, if the team is really good, if the team is competitive at whatever level they're trying to be competitive at, if you're at a school that the best thing you can do is win your conference championship, but you're always in last place, you're probably begging for people to lose their jobs, or for an athletic director to sit around and be like, why are we blowing money on this thing? Like, it's easy enough to get there, from an administrative standpoint. So I think coaches play a huge role in not putting out a good product, like Lucius said, and not being the most staunch advocates they can for what it is they do for a living. Like, administrators don't really understand what it is that we do. There's no score. There's no highlights that are on ESPN. It can be difficult to articulate what your value is. And if you can't articulate it to the people that are paying your bills, again, you're kind of asking for someone to come around, to figure out, why are we doing this thing? So for me, I've always been about promoting, our value, not just to the track public, but internally to the, what goes on the campus, or what goes on within the department. Like, your kids should be out there being the best advocates they can within your bubble. They should have a face in the community. They should put out good efforts on their fields and on the track, and they should be competitive. And when those things are going on, it's harder to do that. I can't think, Minnesota is actually the first program that I can think of that was like a legitimately competitive team that had to take this big axe in recent memory. It's always some random place that no one's really thinking about, or a program that hasn't had that much success that ends up in these situations. And so I think that's the biggest thing that coaches can do is, be better advocates for what it is you do for a living, and make your kids and their efforts more visible to the people that pay your bills.
So let me just throw a couple things in here to some degree debunk the narrative that you both have painted. I do think that you're both right in some cases. But we'll go backwards. The University of Maryland had one of the best track and field programs and one of the best track and field histories in this country. And they had their track program gutted from 12.6 to 4 scholarships.
When did this happen?
15 years ago? Maybe a little longer.
When that happened, they weren't that good.
Okay, but
So look, I'm gonna roll with you on the history side of it. But while you're debunking things, debunk yourself on that part of it.
okay. So if I'm gonna follow your logic, if you have 3 bad years in a row, and I know there was more than 3, but like there's never an excuse. If you have a great track and field history, right, that means that it's been done. Now maybe you got a bad coach. Sure, I'll buy that. But like it's not like Texas A&M was tearing it up before Pat got there. Anyway, let me continue. UCLA's men's gymnastics program is the #1 gymnastics program in the country, and it got cut. So I'm telling you, as much as what both of you are saying makes sense, we can't give athletic departments and directors any credence for making common sense decisions. Well, the program's not that good, so we put them on the chopping block. The truth of the matter is, I don't think it matters whether you're good or bad. I think look, if they want it to look a certain way, they're going to make it look a certain way. That's what I believe.
I can't speak for Clyde, but speaking for myself, I don't think I was painting that narrative.
I don't either.
Anywhere close
I
to
agree
that.
with that statement.
Yeah.
If they're gonna make it look how they want it to look, I agree with that.
Right. They're going to do what they want to do. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, and I think what Clyde is saying also is, it makes it harder for them to do if you're more successful. So yeah, you give a couple examples of things that happen. Okay, I got you. But there's not a plethora of those things going on.
I'll give you the best example that pops into my brain. There's been a lot of cuts to HBCU programs, scholarships, travel, all that stuff. There's been a lot of cuts over the past 5-10 years to HBCU programs. Now, I don't imagine that Alabama State is necessarily in any better financial situation than any other school, but I guarantee you all hell would break loose if you try to cut Richie Bean's program down because of how successful he has been and the standard that he holds, and within that conference, the light that program is. Like, if you want to cut FAMU, that sucks. And they have a great history, but they're a long way removed from when they were competitive in their conference. And so when it happened, I'm sure some people were hurt. I know some people were pissed, but there wasn't a big groundswell of like, oh, that really shouldn't have happened. Go tell Richie Bean you're going to take his program from 18 women's scholarships to 10, or from 12.5 to 4 on the men's side. It'd be a problem. It'd be a problem if they did that at North Carolina A&T. You know what I mean? Like, that part of it has to matter. And not just because they're good on the track. They're visible in the community. He's visible in the community. Everybody on that campus knows the value that he is and his standard and what he's done for that school. So, those are the kind of things I was talking about. Now, could you get some crazy admin in there and say, to hell with it? We're doing it anyway. Sure. Like, to hell with it. We're going to fire George Williams anyway. Okay, but there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole issue.
Shots fired.
I mean, it is a whole issue, but at the end of the day, it's not a whole issue, right? I mean, I think we all agree that Georgia Tech's men's track and field program has been historically pretty damn good. And 2 years after Angelo Taylor finished at Georgia Tech, they cut the budget in half. Like, guys, I want to believe. I want to believe that we as coaches can help make this better, but I just, like, history says it's not true.
Okay, what history says is that you can find, like anything other thing in history, 1 or 2 instances where that happens, or 3 or 4 or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, you're talking about 99 to 1. Like you can't go. The list doesn't go on and on forever about those things that happen. And I'm not disagreeing with you that, like my man said, somebody gets a wild hair and says, "I want these people gone," and they're going to make them gone because they have that power, But I do think that it's a little harder to get rid of some of the people that are getting it done right now.
I hope that's true.
History says it is.
Okay. I mean, they just cut Minnesota's program and they were third in the Big Ten. So is that
all right?
is that terrible?
Okay.
No, and that's my point. Like,
Nobody said it's not terrible. Like,
that's part of the reason why I was shocked.
You're changing the narrative of the conversation. The conversation is that if it's harder if you're better. So like, look, it's a travesty what happened in Minnesota. But Minnesota is the exception, not the rule.
We shall see. I sure hope so.
You shall see. It'll be. It's the exception.
All right, let's give your blood pressures a break for a moment.
Please.
Let's talk about, let's get a little Nostradamus on us here and predict the women's 100-meter final in Tokyo.
Oh, you think that's going to relieve blood pressure?
At least it'll be fine blood pressure.
You think that's going to help somebody's blood pressure?
Not at all.
Go ahead, Clyde.
You're
the resident predictionist. You go ahead.
Now, how am I the resident predictionist? None of this was my idea at all. But
it's not about whether it's your idea or not. We don't need to travel down that well-beaten path. The bottom line is that you're the guy that likes to predict stuff. So predict.
Well, I may have to circle back on places, but for me, the medalists, oh man, this is so hard. So I don't think, obviously this is always, barring injury or whatever. I don't think Shelly Ann leaves Tokyo without a medal. I don't think that Dina Asher-Smith leaves Tokyo without a medal. And after that, it's a whole lot of whatever and maybes and who the hell knows. But those two, I'm pretty rock solid. Those two are walking out of there with a medal. Now, the fact of the matter is, when it comes to the Americans, I couldn't even predict with any kind of straight face who would make the American team, let alone. I'm being serious.
I know, but
the American team, let alone medal from it. The women's 100 meters in America is the most wide open I've ever seen it. There's, who knows? Everybody will say Sha'Carri's the favorite. Maybe she is, but she's still a kid who is unproven at the international level. So that's really hard to do. I'd love to see it, but until I see it, that's not a prediction that I'm, ready to make. And, when I'm looking out the rest of the world, it's like, who's really in there? Ty Lue? Prior to right now, I would have said Ty Lue maybe, but she looked bad this summer. And I'm like, if you're going to step out there and keep running, she looked bad. So it's like, I don't know. Give me a minute. I'll circle back.
Okay, so
Lucius has the hand rub.
So while you're circling, while you're getting your brain, your brain leaks. See, how do you have a conversation about the women's 100 and you don't mention Elaine Thompson?
I'm sorry. Say it again. Say it one more time.
No. Listen,
No. It's my floor right now. I'm gonna let you get back.
You just asked me a question. You want me to answer?
No. It's just a rhetorical question. I'm not.
Okay. Okay.
Ridiculous, because you're circling right now. Right? So we'll get back to you. I'll let you answer that. Elaine Thompson was clearly, anyone that watched the summer, especially the end of it, Elaine Thompson was jogging 10-8 like it was nothing. So I'm going to tell you right now that Dina Asher-Smith will not leave. She may not leave there without a medal, but she will not get a medal in the 100. Okay. And I'm going to go even further to say that not only will Sha'Carri Richardson win our trials, Sha'Carri Richardson is going to get a medal in the Olympic Games. Okay. So I'm going to go Shelly Ann. Correct order. Elaine, Sha'Carri, Shelly Ann. That's my order.
Oh, so you have Elaine winning the Olympics.
Oh, absolutely.
Sha'Carri finishing second.
Absolutely.
And Shelly Ann coming home with a bronze.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So here's what I'm going to say. I agree almost 100% with everything that my man Lucius just said, except I think that the Jamaicans are going to go 1-2, and Sha'Carri is going to get the bronze. And I do absolutely believe that Elaine Thompson is going to win in Bolt-esque fashion. I think she's going to win by a lot.
If she's healthy, maybe.
I think if she doesn't get hurt, if nothing bad happens between now and then, and obviously, look, that's why predictions are what they are, right? But I think, I in my opinion, this is going to be the weirdest looking 100 meters ever, because there's going to be a clear first, a clear second, and a clear third.
See,
that's what I think.
Cool, and I'm good with all of that. Where I was circling back to, sir, I'm going to answer your actually rhetorical question. The other women who were in this box of my considerations, Sha'Carri, Elaine Thompson, and actually Otto's baby, Brianna. I think all of them are in this weird little mix of what is actually going to go down. That's for me. Like those are the three Jamaican women that I feel are going to be on the team. And coming off of all this weird stuff with COVID, I'm not ready to do that. Has Elaine ever dominated at that level?
Yes.
Dominated? Yes. You're talking about domination. Domination.
I was like, did you not see 2016?
Were you there? Weren't you there?
No, I was not in Rio. I watched.
Yes, I was.
Well, I was there.
That
was domination. That was domination.
What I'm saying,
maybe you were asleep when they did the replay back in the
What I'm saying to you, sir, is the dominant figure in the women's 100 for since 2008 has been Shelly Ann.
Except for 2016.
Cool, but when I'm saying dominant figure, losing one race is not, it's like you had a moment, and it's a great moment. It's the Olympic moment. Cool, but if you ask me to put some money on it, which none of us are actually allowed to do.
I'm not asking you to put money on anything, sir.
No, I'm just saying if that's.
I don't know how you have a conversation, because she is the reigning Olympic champion.
Yeah, that's cool.
So the other thing is that you talked to me about Sha'Carri's international experience, but yet you want to put Brianna Williams in the final?
I didn't, sir. I did not. I didn't do that. Did you?
You said
I didn't.
We're gonna rewind the tape, because you like to do this. Rewind the tape, and you said, I have this box of women.
Yes.
Who are going to be factors for the other places, and you mentioned
we're going to be potentially in the mix. That's right.
Yeah, so you can't.
That would make them a finalist, right? If you're in the mix, you got to be a finalist.
Oh no. I have no problem. I have no problem saying that I think Brianna.
I'm going to tell you this.
No problem.
No problem.
There's 8 women. There's 8 women in the final.
No diss to Brianna or to Otto. She's got to make that team, because it ain't going to be easy to make that team.
Okay, cool. But there's 8 women in the final, right? Okay, so if you got 3 Jamaicans in the final, and you got 1 American in the final, and you got Dina in the final, and you got Ta Lu in the final, there's 2 other spots. Why couldn't Brianna make that final? Like, making the final, I don't even think.
I didn't say she couldn't. I was just speaking to the fact that you wanted to call on Sha'Carri's lack of international experience.
But see, wait a minute. No, you don't get to hijack this. You don't get to hijack it back to making the final.
Anything.
The question was medalist, sir.
Hold on a second.
The question was medalist.
Exactly. So
now we're talking about who's gonna make a final?
Sha'Carri and the medalist.
Okay, but I'm talking about medal. I'm not talking about making the final.
Please make my point.
Go ahead.
Okay. You said, in terms of Sha'Carri being successful, right?
Medal.
Okay. So medal. Okay. So medaling, international experience. This girl has no international experience either, but you want to put her in the mix using that box of people that can.
Sir,
you said.
Wait a minute. Which athlete has had more international experience, Brianna or Sha'Carri Richardson?
In terms of what?
Races on the international scene.
I don't recall that Brianna's had that much international experience.
Who's been a pro longer?
She's not gonna do anything. She hasn't done anything professionally.
Neither of them have. That's my point. We're talking about 2 babies.
No, that's my point.
We're talking about.
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah, please do, because he's on drugs.
Because we were talking about who's going to win, right? We're talking about the medals for next.
We're talking about the medals.
Right, and I want to make a point about the medalist. There's a very, very very strong reason as to why I think that Elaine is going to win and going to beat Shelly Ann. Is because prior to this year, they had the same coach. One of those people now has a
where I
different
wanted
coach.
to get to.
So,
but I
there.
got being sidetracked with a conversation about who's going to be in a final, not who's going to make the medal.
So anyway, the one who has the same coach is the one who looked spectacular this summer. So am I saying that Shelly Ann's trash now because she doesn't have the same coach? No. But am I saying that changing coaches in an Olympic year, which then becomes another year, is going to be a difference between her and someone that I think that they are marginally separated by ways of talent? But I will tell you this, the way Elaine looked this summer, there is not a female on this planet that can beat her. And the way Shelly Ann always looks in Olympic years, I don't think there's anybody except Elaine who can beat her. So for my money, I would put money on gold. I would put money on silver. And I think Sha'Carri is the best of the rest of that group talent-wise. And her experience is going to be null and void only because next year is going to be a year that ain't nobody ever had any experience with.
Wait a minute. And okay, so I refuse to allow my thoughts to be misconstrued by the panel. That's not I ain't going for that. Sir,
state your claim clearly, so nobody can misconstrue.
I thought I said it clearly the first time, but apparently I didn't. So let's run through this again. The question is, who are we predicting to come out with medals? And yes. I was very, very clear. Shelly's coming out with a medal, and I think Dina's coming out with a medal. That's all I said about medals. After that, I said there are a group of people that I have consideration for. Sha'Carri is clearly, no one would argue otherwise, the American favorite. I don't believe that more than one American makes that final. Sha'Carri should be the favorite to do so. Cool. Sha'Carri in the final. I think there will be 3 Jamaicans in the final. I think Brianna makes her team easily and gets into that final. Okay.
Who's your third medalist?
Elaine clearly looked very good this year, but to your point, so did Shelly with her coaching change. Shelly ran 1085 win legal. You forget that? That happened.
No, I didn't forget. I didn't forget that, and I watched the race, and I'm telling you this right now. Elaine's 2 10.8s were jogathons that she won by 10 meters.
Cool. That's all fine.
Those ain't 10.8s.
I've seen the races. I've seen the races. I understand the point you're making. I get that. I was concerned about the coaching change as well. She looked pretty damn good to me, and I'm sorry. In that fire, in those moments, I would probably roll with the person who's proven over and over and over again, the one that always seems to find a way to get it done, over Elaine. I just would. Elaine is a perfectly rational choice for the third. I think Sha'Carri is a rational choice for the third. I would not say that I think Brianna's gonna medal. I didn't say that.
So in the wise words of those smarter than me, land your plane. Who is your third choice, sir?
Listen, again.
Look, because you know what? That damn plane has been circling. It's about to run out of gas.
Who is your third medalist?
Jeez, I'm going around the block 20 times.
I'm going to go with the homer pick, and I'm going to rock with the American. I'm going to say Sha'Carri, bronze. Since we're going places, I'm going to say Sha'Carri, bronze, Dina second, and Shelly Ann first. I think Elaine gets fourth.
Okay.
Please
write all of those down.
They're down.
Madam Chu.
They're all down. I got them. Woo. In order.
Woo.
Let me timestamp this.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Curb stomp.
This is a wordy one. So I've exhausted you now, and now we're gonna see how well you can pay attention.
Okay.
Per the NCAA, cross-country athletes are able to compete the fall competitions and then contest the winter spring championship. without losing eligibility? How are we deeming this equitable in comparison to the other athletes who will compete in indoor-outdoor track season?
Obviously, the NCAA has hired a new person that works there, David Copperfield, and he has created some sort of magic trick where you can appear at races in the fall and appear at races in two different sports in the spring, yet magically, none of it counts. But wait, it does count. I think just based on my joking explanation of all of that, there's only one word for any of that, and that's fuckery. That this makes no sense to anyone. You cannot run races that mean nothing in the fall, then come back and run races that mean everything in the spring, and come back and run races in another sport that finishes 2 days after it, and none of that counts against your eligibility. And then what? The entire country of indoor track and field athletes got all the way to Albuquerque, were warmed up at the facility, but then their whole indoor facility, their whole indoor counts. Again, David Copperfield on line one.
Mr. Lucius, I'm gonna need a little assistance with this because I want the people who may only be casual observers of all of this to fully understand what's happening right now. In 2021, the indoor national championship is scheduled for what day?
March 13th.
And the the cross country championship is scheduled for what day?
March 15th.
The NCAA has decided that the cross country championship is going to happen, yet will not count against eligibility. But the indoor championship is going to happen and absolutely will. And distance runners are allowed to compete in both of them if they so choose.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
I don't know how or why or who came up with that, but that is utterly insane and horrifically unfair. Like, why is the distance running community getting this privilege to have their stuff extended and no one else is? To Lamar's point, last year there was an indoor season, yet no indoor championship due to COVID. And that entire season didn't get a pass either. So if you were not a senior last year and you qualified for indoor nationals, you didn't get to run, and you don't get that one back. And this year you will get to run, but it counts against you. Yet the 10K runner is just running out here, running for fun, running for free, and going to nationals and doing the whole thing, and gets to extend their life, I guess, forever. I mean, what's next? Like next year, none of it counts. Oh, and mind you, I'm sorry, for those that don't know, some conferences are having an actual competitive cross-country season now.
Right now. Yeah.
So
Correct.
I don't know I don't know who pulled that off. I need their attorneys. I need some of that mouthpiece in my life, because my mouthpiece ain't even that good. I need to know. I need to understand. I don't get it.
Well,
Harry Houdini.
You're never getting understanding on this, because I don't think the people that made the decision have an understanding of it. The biggest travesty for me is the fact that, okay, so, the calendar year of 1920, when it comes in terms of the academic year. So you have cross country in the fall, you have indoor track, you have outdoor track. Well, indoor and outdoor track got canceled. Indoor season ended abruptly. People got charged the season, right? So cross country got to run. So in all fairness, why wouldn't they just get canceled this year and move on like with our lives like we had to?
Hey.
That's the biggest thing I don't get. So then we move forward, and now we're going to let them run in the fall, run in the spring / winter, and then not have a cost against them. Well, I think this just speaks to a lot of issues we have going on around us right now. And at some point in time, we need to stop. We need to think. You need to think about the fact that we're putting these student athletes in jeopardy, because there's going to be people out there that try to have their kids do both, which is unfair, not only to the athletes, but to everybody, involved. Why, my opinion, why put them in that situation? I guess legally you can't make them choose, and honestly, you probably shouldn't. But the right thing to do was either have cross country in the fall, because maybe I missed something. Okay, we're not going to play football in certain situations, right? But then we decided, oh, well, we can have football, we can have a championship game, and everybody can be involved. So why was it so hard to come back and say, well, hey, maybe we can just start cross country at the middle of October, and then maybe run the championship in the middle of December? That would have been okay. Then we're fine, and it has no effect on everybody. But instead, no, let's just make it into the wild, wild west, do whatever we want, and give it just, on top of that, we'll give you an extra season of eligibility on top of it. Yeah, that works.
I know, because, running cross country in December and running cross country in March in the Midwest and in the East Coast is like different or something, right? Weather-wise, it's not different. Oh, my bad. I so don't understand any part.
Well, a lot of it comes down to this for me. Like, I think there was a knee-jerk reaction in the beginning. And, so like there's this again, so we talked about the pandemic courage. So let's talk about COVID fear, right? So now you have this fear of what might happen with cross country. So then let's just not have the championships. But as we move forward and we see that there's certain conferences that are going to do it, and we have these protocols in place. So whatever protocols you have in place in March, they wouldn't work in December. I don't get that. That's the baffling thing for me. So we have this plan that'll work for us in March, but we couldn't implement that same set plan in December.
So for the last 7 weeks,
we could allow the football teams to take a break, which it wasn't a break, right? And decide they were going to come back and play. So do we really think those cross country teams weren't out training? And if they picked up the phone tomorrow and called the presses and said, hey, look, we're going to have the NCAA championships at the end of December or the middle of December, and this is the protocol it's going to take to get there. Oh, people will find a way to get there. Yeah. I mean, so this nonsense of we're afraid of the COVID. No, you're not afraid of the
COVID. They're gonna find a way to compete at indoor nationals and cross country nationals 2 days apart. We know some people are gonna go ahead and try that. Now I don't train long distance people. I've never tried to do it. I don't really have a belief that I would do it, but I have to imagine you train them a little differently for a 10K race outside than you would a 5K race indoors. I feel like those are two different sets of competitive levels.
Well, I think the thing is,
somebody killed. Like, you're gonna hurt these kids.
The thing is like the rationale is going to be, well, you can double in the 5K and the 10K outdoors, right? So you run the 5K on Friday and the 10K on Saturday, or vice versa. So that's going to be the rationale. So it's the same thing. So you run on Wednesday and you come back and run on Friday. So why can't you run on Saturday and then come back and run on Monday? That's going to be the rationale. And look, some of the better athletes will find it. They'll handle it. We've the freak of nature, the unicorn, as you like to say, will find a way to get it done.
I'll ask a stupid question. Where is the cross country meet?
Oklahoma.
Where is the indoor meet?
Arkansas.
Got it.
Not very far.
Not very far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So David Copperfield on line one. Chu, who's on speed round or whatever this week?
So footnote, for those of us under 50, David Blaine is who he's referring to. So
no,
just FYI. David Copperfield is for older people.
Blaine,
I'm sorry.
A better analogy, but I understand what
wait, what's dude's name that's in Vegas now? Chris
Angel.
Chris Angel, is that better?
That's a much better show. He does a better show.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about magicians. Penn and Teller, I don't care. Like, pick one.
Love Penn and Teller.
Right? I love magicians quietly. Don't tell nobody that. So sure, we can pick an age group. Like I said, Harry Houdini. I don't care.
Anyhow, so
whoever can make athletes appear and disappear during the course of a year without any eligibility harmed.
That's called the NCAA.
Yeah,
So for 7 weeks, what have I been saying? On every single time we've had a show and we've mentioned them, I have said the NCAA is lacking utterly in leadership. This is a prime example of a complete lack of leadership and proper decision making.
And unlike football or some of the other sports, they made a decision across country, like we're done. We don't talk about it anymore.
Right. Like, hey, we're doing this.
That ship has sailed. We're going to run it in the winter, the spring, whatever it is. So,
well, that kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier with the whole Minnesota situation, right? Like, we have a little minor audience here at the LLC, you know, and when our audience hears this conversation, maybe a few people will get a little more clarity on this issue and be like, wait a minute, damn, that makes no sense at all. I'm kind of pissed off about this. Like, why would we stand for this? I guarantee you 95% of the athletes at these schools has no idea that that's the way it's set up and have no understanding that that is how they are playing the non-distance running track and field athletes. They're getting played in this equation. And at some point, they're going to figure it out. And they'll be like, yo, wait a minute. What, really? But does anybody care? Is anybody going to be able to make a big enough noise about it? Probably not. That's crazy. That's wild to me.
Absolutely crazy. All right. Well.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Clyde, is your seat warm? Because if it's not, it's going to be.
I mean, you know, I'm good on the fly. So I passed the Bay Area test of rapid fire.
Right.
I can only imagine what this one's about.
And this is it was hard for me because I had to keep reminding myself to take myself out of the Bay and try to get you something not Bay related. So I apologize. This is a little rocky.
If it's Southern culture, I'm going to fail.
Oh, this will be great. Yes.
I was trying to think about some Alabama stuff and then I was like, yeah, I can't go there. All right. So you ready?
Sure.
All right. Golden Gate Park or Lake Merritt?
Lake.
Got it. SFO or Oakland International?
Oakland. My God, no. If no one wants to go to SFO, we go because we have
to. You're eating clam chowder, bread bowl or regular bowl?
Regular. Most of the bread bowls is stale. There's only one or two good places where bread bowls is right.
You're not wrong.
I ain't making that pilgrimage.
You're not wrong. Lionel Richie or Hall & Oates?
Lionel Richie.
Got it. Coaching international athletes or domestic athletes?
Oh God.
I just slide it in.
Honestly, all the at the pro level, it's all the same bag of mess. I don't really enjoy most of it. But
you like a mess that you can understand or not understand?
I'll stick with my homegrowns. If I'm gonna go through the stress, I want to coach the Americans, but the internationals pay better.
Favorite event to coach?
4x1.
All right, here it is. Favorite spades partner, TJ or Huffins?
That is disrespectful.
Oh my God.
You're being uber messy. There is no, listen, for the audience.
Tell them.
For the audience. I only have in the track world one true spades partner, and that is Christopher Huffins. TJ, we won't embarrass him with his last name, might be one of the worst spades players I've ever encountered. He's so bad, he was injured in a push cart wheelchair, and we took it from him and made him limp down the hallway on one foot. That's how bad TJ is at spades. So no, the convention this year has been canceled due to COVID issues. And the one possible good thing about that is that me and Mr. Huffins will not have to continue our years of undefeated at spades for the entire culture of track coaches. We ain't never lost. We won't be losing. TJ can't play spades.
You have survived. I hope you had fun.
Let's see. What'd you do, Luce?
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
That one I threw in mid-show. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, "Oh, this is a good one." I had to write that
Oh
one
my
down.
God. Woo.
Love you, TJ.
They're gonna be a hot individual when he watches this show on Friday. Woo.
All right.
No
Well,
lies were told. It was all
no,
factual.
not at all. No, there's legitimately TJ's scooter got stolen that year. Definitely been kicked. Yeah, rough times. No injuries in this crew. Well, gentlemen, let's go ahead and round out the episode with our heartbeat props. So who would like to graciously step up?
I'll go first. I'm gonna be light this week, so I mean I won't. Lamar won't tell me he hates me this week, so.
But I always love you.
Like you've told me 3 weeks in a row that you hate me, so I won't make you.
That's true, because you be making me try. Look, man, I can't be crying in public. That's not okay.
Well, too late. So anyway, I'm gonna give my heartbeat props to a guy that I had the pleasure of watching compete here in Gainesville, and then later on I had the pleasure of coaching him as well. But the reason I'm giving my heartbeat props to him is that when there was a coaching change at the University of Florida, he came to me and said, "You need to apply for a job there." My response was, "I'm still working on my degree. They're not going to hire me." He saw me 2 days later and he said to me, "Have you applied for the job yet?" And I said, "I told you, I'm still working on my degree. They're not going to hire me." His response was, "If I see you again and you haven't applied for the job, we're going to fight on the spot." And knowing him as I do, not that I was afraid to fight him, but we were going to be fighting, and that wouldn't have been good for either one of us. So I applied for the job and went through the process, ended up getting the job, and the rest is history. So I want to give my heartbeat props to Mr. Mark Everett for trying to bully me into applying for a job.
Roommate.
That's my boy. Always, and what I love about Mark is he's always been brutally honest about anything we ever talk about, and I love it when he comes through games every now and then, and he shows up in practices and talks to the guys about the tradition and the history of Florida track and field. So Mark, if you see this, love you, man. Appreciate you. See, no tears.
No tears. Well, mine is very, very, very lighthearted this week, and my heartbeat props goes to a group of young people who 100% do not watch this show. As it has been alluded to a time or two, I coach a group of 8-year-old baseball players, and my heartbeat props goes to a group of 12 little kids who have gone on at this point, I think, 20-week journey with me to just get better at baseball. And last night I was the proudest of all proud papas. Like, yes, my son is on the team, but I was super duper proud of a group of 12 kids who look like the 27 Yankees just on one night. It was the last night I was going to get to coach them, and it was like they had decided that they were going to send coach out on some sort of like ridiculously high note. But I mean, we turned 2 double plays last night. The 2 worst kids in the league who were on my team both got RBI singles, like all kinds of crazy. We caught like 5 pop-ups yesterday. We've caught like 7 all year. So at the end of the day, these are real stats. Like we're not good at catching the balls in the air. I don't know what that's about. Probably bad coaching. But at the end of the day, I almost cried. Real talk. Because I told all the kids.
All these tears, man.
I know, man. It's weird, man. I guess it's turning 50. I don't know. Anyway. I told all the kids, and more importantly, their parents, when we first started, that I didn't care if we won any games, and that success for me was that at the end of this season, that they all felt like their children were far better players than they were when we started. And last night was an incredible example of that. And it reminded me of why coaching is so awesome. It reminded me of the connectivity that all of us crave and feed off of with young people. And to be honest, like it reinvigorated me as to like, there is some good in this world, and something good in 2020 actually happened. So my heartbeat props actually go to my 8U Tomahawks Black group of baseball kids, and I'm very proud of them.
So we're all on the lighthearted kick today, I see. So we all, I'm certain, have our friends, our family, our groups of people outside of what we do every day that that we may spend time arguing with or telling stories to, and group texting and all that other stuff. And for me, those conversations kind of keep me sane in my daily chaos. And I don't converse with a wide range of too many people, but the small little pockets of people I do have those interactions with are pretty important to me. And so, without going through the list of the names of all of those people, because that would be too much, my heartbeat props go out tonight to two groups that keep me very, very entertained on my daily sidetrack missions, and that is Goon Squad and my Track Shark crew, and they all know who they are. I appreciate all of you. You guys are all very entertaining, and I genuinely appreciate the banter back and forth. No matter where those conversations go, it's always fun. And without that, I'd be a little less sane than I am. So shout out to all
Goon Squad, stand up.
Oh, wow. Well, I will round out the evening with more lightheartedness, but if you've been watching, I've gone through the tiles of the screen. So not out of obligation, but definitely out of appreciation, I lift up Lucius. I won't government name you, but I appreciate the fact that you're so real. And in meeting you, but I mean, I think we're coming up on a year in December of actually meeting you face to face and whatnot. The conversation was real. Your process from start to current is one that's tangible for everyone. It wasn't because you threw a penny in a well and poof, you got this UF job and you're going to be the Olympic team coach, and you've got these dynamic athletes who just this, and this, and you've got a lineage. No, you worked for it, and you've put in the time, you've been gritty, you've gotten grimy, you've done all those things that all of us little people feel like that you don't have to ever do, And so the vulnerability, the realism, the conversations that, till this day, I can tell you exactly where I was. I was sitting in my little cubicle, and we had a scheduled call. I was supposed to call you at 3:00, and at 2:55, I'm like, oh God, all right. And my hands are sweating. You're not even going to see me, but I'm supposed to call you and have this conversation with you, and I'm flipping out. And you're like, hi. And I was like, dang, this is way too easy. Like, it's supposed to be way harder than this. And that's how it's been since day one. It's just super real, and you've kept it real and honest. And that's something that, you don't soften in. And we, as the regular people down in the middle, always feel as if we get fluffied. Oh, well, just keep working harder and you'll make it. Like, no, shit doesn't happen sometimes. It just doesn't happen. Oh, well, move on, make something happen. And so for that, I appreciate you, and you are my heartbeat props. And as I circle out the three of you gentlemen, I appreciate you. I couldn't lump you into one, because each of you have definitely touched my heart, shaped me as a coach in the short time or in the long time. As much as I'm going to admit this, as stubborn as I am, you've all changed my mind in one way, shape, or form. Yes, I'm admitting the stubbornness. I am a Taurus.
That means you fit in well with everybody else on this panel. Because
right.
of course I'm not stubborn at all, right? Yeah.
So with that being said, thank you very much, Lucius, Clyde.
You're very welcome,
and Lamar. I appreciate all of you through and through, day in, day out. And if you haven't known already, or if I haven't shown already, let me say it that way, you know, I'm here till the end, ride or die till you kick me out. I'm good. So I appreciate you. So
We can't kick out the ringleader. I don't know how that works.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know.
Not happening. Yeah. Trust me. You're safe. You're good.
I've been safe. I've
For
been given a
sure.
rose.
Yeah.
And I'm giving Lamar his seat back next week. That's for sure.
Yeah.
This is not a place for Christopher.
No, we won't government name you anymore.
No. Lamar lives here.
But yeah, we need him back. Thanks. Well, as always, it was fun, you know, and there are episodes that go like this, and we go spike high, and then we just plateau. Not great for a training program, but it's great for us. We'll take it. We will take it. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Lamar, Christopher, wherever you are, be safe. Please make it back, and make sure to bring Lamar with you, okay?
Will do.
All right, gentlemen, have a great evening and have a great week ahead of you. Hasta.
When the lights come on, the road just get to running. When the lights come on, opponents smash the plumbing. Heard you like it warm, hot, knife the butter. Truth hit them hard, knock them off that rebuttal. Tsunami, tidal wave to your puddle. Tough love punch you in the arms, little brothers. Athletics LLC, there's no others. Track and field's pace and we'll peel to go further. Hey, Wile E. Coyote, it's road runners. Feels like you know us, you've been with us the whole summer. If not for this quarantine, these four corners wouldn't be here, but we here, so start learning. You gotta earn your stripes, gotta get your scars. Show you how to fight, but show us who you are. You lack experience, but still you wanna talk. And who is actually talking to you? Circle's kinda small. Heads prevail when the backbone's strong. Gotta keep it coming, no, it won't last long. Pass it, failed, and sell the sad song. And if you don't check yourself, then that's wrong. Just trying to give you the real that you asked for. So why you keep cutting us off to ask more? We put it in slow-mo, but you fast forward. Athletics LLC, the task force.